Hello
Welcome back.
to In the Arena. And what arena are we in today? That's the way we should start, everyone. Where are we,
Oh.
Kim? This is Bondi, post-apocalyptic. The whole of Bondi Beach has been blown away, and it's just us. Okay, I'm kidding. We're in Tuvalu.
Which is, sorry, he cracks me up. All right, yes, we're in Tuvalu.
Where's Tuvalu, Kim?
It's it's in the South Pacific. It is a really, really interesting country. Some fun facts. It is the least visited country in the world. Although it shouldn't be because it's pretty darn cool. So I would highly recommend it. But it is a gorgeous little circle.
It's really interesting. So Funafuti is the peninsula that we're on, very thin piece of land, 12 kilometres long, and then it goes into the ocean.
It's about like 200 meters wide,
But
feet wide.
The land encircles a lagoon. So the biggest piece of land is Funafuti. It's where 6,000 of the 12,000 Tuvaluans live. So on the one side, so behind us is the lagoon, full of fish, fresh fish. It's their that's where they go to eat. And then on the other side, 100 meters way, is the ocean. And so it's coral atolls. It's a perfect circle of coral atolls. And there's 9 islets.
Yeah, and
that's not quite true. No. There are islets, and then there are outer islands that are 6 to 10 hours away by boat. It's a fascinating country. And
sadly, it is known as the first country in the world that's going to sink because of the climate crisis, which is just kind of incomprehensible when you're here and you see these incredible people and rich history and culture, to think that just because of man-made greed, destruction, we are, potentially losing an entire country and its people and culture. So,
but it's why we're here. Well. We are at the coalface of the climate crisis, and so at its highest point, it's 4 meters above sea level, which is 2 of me basically. And we walked the length of the country, at least this island, which is half the country, yesterday, about 3 hours of walking, 12 kilometres, and the highest part of the country is, in fact, their tip, their landfill. So it is a fascinating place to be. We're here for a week, and it reinforces the work we've done for 20 years around.
Well, what I was going to say, what's so crazy for me is I feel like the whole world is grappling with plastic waste, right? The plastic waste crisis. We're just making too much of it. The planet can't absorb it. It used to be 9%. Now it's less than 2% of all the plastic ever created in the world has ever been recycled. So that's a whole other separate conversation about, the myth of recycling. But the reality is that every country in the world is just kind of throwing their mess, hiding it. It's almost like when a parent says to a child, clean your room, and they kind of hide it all in the closet and stuff it in and close the door. But, America, Australia, Canada, we just have bigger closets. And here in Tuvalu, you see, they just don't have the land space.
So every country.
So cleaning the mess, where does all this garbage go? The ocean, the land. I mean, there's just nowhere for it to go. So it's such a clear, it's just so visual. It's in your face. You can't escape it with what happens to everything that we consume, every plastic bottle, it's funny. I think actually a garbage truck is coming along as we're talking. But what happens to it all? So for us, thinking about, we talk about circular economy. And one of the things that we often say is that the West is, again, kind of corrupted, is thinking it's our new age thinking of this, new way of circularity where everything gets, is designed for nature and goes back to nature. But really, it's just indigenous wisdom, right? That indigenous communities have been living this way in sync with nature since, for 60,000 years. And we need to kind of look to that historical context for solutions with, sure, we want to have more modern conveniences like diapers and nappies, but using traditional wisdom. And how do you make that? You make it from materials that come from nature. You make it so it can go back to nature and regenerate our natural system. So I feel like Tuvalu is really this kind of microcosm of the world, of what happens to everything that we're consuming and where does it go? And what happens when the closets are full, to hide your mess in.
So, and our focus of our work for the last 20 years is really at the pointy end of the circular economy. So if you think about the circular economy, the most circular thing you can do is refuse to consume. And the next best thing is a redesign of products, which is incredibly complicated because it's not just a product replacement. There's an entire system thinking piece that needs to happen. So that's at the pointy end, the difficult end, the end that not many people are playing in, but we are.
So it's really hard.
But at the other end is recycling. And recycling is incredibly flawed. It's only 9% of all plastic has ever been recycled. Okay, 2%. Things can get recycled. Glass is fantastic. Glass can be recycled forever. Metals can be recycled. Plastic is a complete disaster. And so what's interesting about us spending the week here, we're with the Tuvalu government, helping them develop their waste management and the National Plastics Action Plan policies, all of these things, because we've got lots of experience in it. And it speaks to the PhD I just finished, is it's at the pointy end, and it has to be at the pointy end.
Notice he throws in the PhD. This
is what we do. This is what we do. Mate, if you've done 4 years of research,
Dr. Graham-Nye,
rebranding this whole thing, the doctor is in the house, and I don't know who you are, but anyway, but it's not, because I'm not an egomaniac, but I kind of am.
Sorry.
Where was I? So I think, so in this country, in these small island developing states that are literally drowning, they don't have time for recycle. There's not,
they need things that actually work.
And you've got so many examples. Unilever trying to recycle their sachets in Indonesia. That blew up, a year ago after 5 years. The biggest polluter in the world, Coca-Cola, you can see it everywhere here. Yeah. It's just not going to work.
Well, as I said, now they've just been coming back from their 2030 commitments, right? And just just taking their foot off the gas, solving it, because there's now not the governmental pressure globally to fix it. Where if governments really leaned in and stood up and said, we have to come up with an international plastics treaty that's legally binding. We have to stop producing the volume of plastic in order to kind of get ahead of it, because we just have too much. And I do think, we can't do anything about what's already here, but we can certainly turn the tap off on making more, right? And that's, we're trying it with diapers. I'm sure there's tons of other companies. Actually, we should do a thing where we get on other guests and have them chat with them with what they're doing.
This is, in the arena, has come back after a bit of a sabbatical, because as we said, doing this work is really hard. And so we're often not here doing this, we're doing that over there. And did I mention I got a PhD? There's a lot of hours of research and study, no time to be on.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, Dr.
That's what my therapist has said. So that we really do want to highlight others in the field who are doing these really difficult things, because there's so much chatter on LinkedIn and elsewhere about recycling this and that, and it's really a complete waste of time.
Or just even reports, the number of reports that are written and the amount of money that goes into reports that I'm not sure anyone ever reads or anything happens with it. But there doesn't seem to be as much interest in action, where
because action is really hard.
Well, I was going to say, but you as a PhD, Dr. Graham-Nye, the word praxis.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And although you didn't...
I'm owning that word.
Right.
So praxis is a Latin word that
you can as a doctor.
It kind of people figure out it's turning theory into practice. Yeah. And so having finished the research, I'm not going to mention it anymore, my desperate hope is to take my insights from research and apply it in the real world. And so this is exactly what's happening for us here this week in Tuvalu, and then next week in Samoa. We're going to share a little bit more as the week goes on. But that's the exciting part. But our goal in the arena is to talk about our project, but also obviously have guests on to talk about the work they're doing. And it's at the really pointy end. It's kind of interesting because a lot of stuff gets funded around recycling, which is amazing to me because it just goes nowhere. And the other stuff that gets
It's a sound bite.
But the other stuff that gets a lot of money is eco-materials. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of lab-based. They take a pharmaceutical approach. So they say, that might be a 10 or 15-year pathway to create a new kind of plastic replacement. There's no commercial application for years, and yet somehow those sorts of things get supported. So we think we are part of a group that are obsessed about applying real-world solutions in pilots and then scaling those pilots to
Praxis.
Thank you. That's right.
.com.au.
If only websites were a thing. I think they've gone on for all money.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Come and gone.
So yes. So welcome back to In the Arena. We commit to being here regularly. And would you like to share anything else? I think our work here is done.
Dr. Graham-Nye.
Thank you. Dr. Graham-Nye signing off. See you. Oh, Whawhatai Lava? Whawhatai Lava.